On this edition of Sightings, it began as a mysterious phenomenon in a small Midwestern town and soon became the most famous haunting in America.
Oh my God, look, it's forming right there.
Now, Sightings reconnects with the Heartland ghost.
Sally, I'm back.
These men were there when the most deadly missiles in our nuclear arsenal were mysteriously rendered useless.
Just looked at each other and said, I don't understand this.
They're convinced UFOs are to blame.
The only thing I could think was, oh my God.
This is amazing.
Then, has the mystery of crop circles been solved?
If this video is genuine, it is the Holy Grail.
Why music may be the best medicine.
You can learn to use your own voice to heal yourself.
And Nostradamus' final prediction for this millennium.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. For the past 3 years, Sightings has brought you exclusive interviews and video of a bizarre haunting in America's heartland. Along with the poltergeist and entity cases, the Heartland ghost is now considered one of the greatest unsolved hauntings in American history. The haunting victims moved out long ago. More recent tenants have also moved away. The house is empty now. Or is it?
Physically felt that?
Yeah, that hurt.
God, look, it's forming right there.
I have 2 scratches.
Look at that.
There's a little girl that's standing right there.
Sally? Is that your name, Sally?
MC.
Yeah, we got a new scratch.
Look, one's starting to bleed.
It began with a series of eerie occurrences that fascinated rather than frightened this young family somewhere in America's heartland. Apparitions appeared in photographs. Lights were turned on by an unseen hand. Incidents described as spontaneous combustion. And even I felt the inexplicable cold spots that would emanate without warning. Strange but not threatening to Deborah, Tony, and their baby boy. Mysterious but not malevolent, until the bloody scratches started to appear.
I could feel it. How did that happen?
You don't know.
Sally?
Look at that.
She does this when she's upset.
An unprecedented sightings investigation was launched. For more than a year, paranormal investigators made repeated trips to the home. Data was collected, photographs analyzed. There was even an exorcism, all in an effort to explain the unexplainable. For world-renowned parapsychologist Carrie Gaynor, who had investigated both the entity and poltergeist cases, the Heartland ghost was unique.
During the last 20 years, I've investigated about 850 cases, and during that time, I have never come across anything like this.
Tony said that the ghost had appeared in human form only once. He saw a girl in turn-of-the-century dress, the spirit of a child named Sally, one psychic told the family. When Sightings searched town records to see if such a child ever lived in the 130-year-old house, we discovered a startling confirmation on microfilm. A little girl named Sally had lived in the house, and she had died under mysterious circumstances in 1905. It was nearly 2 years ago that psychic Peter James found the grave of that little girl and then claimed to have made contact with her. Now, Sightings has asked Peter to return to the Heartland to find out if Sally is still home.
Well, it looks the same. Not much has changed.
Peter entered the house with some trepidation, remembering his last encounter with the spirit he too calls Sally.
Sally, I'm back.
Retracing the psychic path of 2 years ago, Peter recalled his own painful encounter with the destructive, vengeful force in the house.
This was the room where I got my face burned. Something is burning my face, like right now. Wow. When I walked through the house, I felt that some of these so-called hot spots that I was able to identify the last time I was here, for example, remained much the same.
And nowhere was that more evident than in the nursery, a century-old room where generations of children had played and dreamed.
Sally, make your presence known, Sally. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that she is here. None whatsoever. I sense the same kind of activity, however, to a lesser degree, and I would attribute that to the fact that the young man that lived here is not here, and I believe that Sally, or the perpetrator, if you will, that did all the scratching, had a thing for him, that disliked him immensely. But the activity remains the same. Sally is still here and active.
Although Tony stayed away from the house on this visit, Deborah offered to bring us up to date on her husband.
He went through an awful lot each time the sightings crew came up, and it was quite traumatizing to him. And he's now had a cooling off, a healing period where he can feel free without, with the knowledge that nothing is going to sneak up on him and scratch him.
In Sally's eyes, this is her home. And when you enter the domain, if you will, of a ghost, they let you know that you're invading their space. So the family just happened to move in and bumped into Sally, literally. Things that go bump in the night, well, she bumped back.
And Deborah has had lingering fears that Sally will come to haunt their new home and torment Tony again.
Today, I had Peter come over and walk through our now permanent house to kind of check over whether we are being bothered over there.
I got an immediate sense that it would be very unlikely that they would have any kind of a haunting activity in the new house. The new house is clean, because I believe that houses are haunted and not people.
As darkness fell on this infamous house, the sightings team wondered, was Sally gone? Or was she now a sweeter, shyer spirit? Or perhaps had yet to show her dark side?
Where are you, Sally? Come out now. Sally, make your presence known now. Talk to me. Sally, I'm going home now. I'm going to leave you alone.
Then, just as the sightings team began to wrap things up, the temperature in the room dropped dramatically.
Sally, you here? Yeah, it is cold here. Yeah, it is quite cold here. Whoa, yeah.
It just got cold sunlight.
Yeah, it did, yeah. Sally? Yeah, oh, feel this, feel this. Oh, it's real cold right here now, feel that.
Just then, a chilling sensation startled director Steve Abramson.
You okay?
My pants are cold right here.
You're cold?
It's like, feel my pants here. See if they feel cold back there.
Yeah, they do. Lift up your pant leg.
There's no pain or anything, it's just a cool feeling.
Turn around.
But I don't feel any breeze here, but my whole leg feels cool.
I don't think so.
Scratch.
Okay.
Here?
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm seeing.
There's a definite mark back there. Sally, be nice.
Was this a coincidence or a warning? A reminder to the team that Sally can be vicious when she wants to be.
If she wanted to attack you violently, believe me, she's very capable of a very violent and a very abrupt attack.
According to Peter James, Sally will haunt this house in the heartland for many years to come, or until she realizes that her physical body no longer exists and her spirit can finally rest in peace.
The house remains empty. Some prospective tenants have been interested in renting the place, excited by the home's national reputation. But renter beware. Sally, as we know, doesn't always like her roommates.
Next, did UFOs shut down part of our nuclear defense system? The officers who were there speak out.
He and other guards had seen UFOs flying over the area.
Right now, somewhere in America, there are more than 7,000 nuclear warheads poised at the ready. The possibility that any one of these sleeping giants might be compromised is unthinkable. But think again. There is evidence that someone, or more accurately something, has tampered with our nuclear capability. And that something may not be of this world.
In the event of a nuclear attack, this is what's supposed to happen. But on March 16, 1967, America's first line of defense was tampered with. It started at a missile launch site, codenamed November, near Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana. For several hours, missiles loaded with nuclear warheads switched off, and no one could figure out why. Robert Salas was deputy crew commander that day. One of a two-man team inside one of the missile control bunkers, 60 feet underground.
I got a call from one of my security guards upstairs. He said that he and other guards had seen UFOs flying over the area. I didn't think he was serious, and basically we hung up.
When the stakes are global thermonuclear war, only men and women of the highest physical and mental standards need apply. Salas had made the grade, but now he had to begin questioning those around him.
About 5 minutes later, he calls back, and this time he's agitated. He's obviously frightened. He said that there was a UFO hovering just outside the front gate, and it was glowing red. It was saucer-shaped, and he was very frightened. Within a minute or two of the second call, the missiles started shutting down or going off alert. We were basically shocked to see our missiles going no-go sequentially. In other words, bing, 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 bing. They just started going down. The only thing I could think was, oh my God.
Just 12 hours later, at another launch site, codenamed Echo, 20 miles away, Launch Commander Don Crawford learned that the 37-ton Minuteman missiles under his command also went down.
We just looked at each other and said, I don't understand this. How could this happen? There is no command in the capsule to turn them off. There was no switch, no off switch. They did not break. They just never broke. And I never saw an off alert missile in the 3.5 years I was a crew member.
3 weeks earlier, Crawford had also taken a panicked phone call from a security guard who claimed to have seen a UFO over the silo.
He was a very terrified young man, and he could not identify what he was seeing. In other words, this was not an airplane. It was way too low and too close, and it also didn't go away. I guess I finally convinced him that if the whatever it was came inside the fence, he had my authority to shoot, which made him feel really good. But he said, sir, I don't really think that'll do much good.
Then, more than 3 hours after the missiles went offline, with no repair work having been done, the missiles simply came back on, as though nothing had ever happened.
It just started back up normally like they had installed it from the factory. And so they found no broken pieces, no broken cables, no, nothing like that. It just started back up.
Incredibly, neither Robert Salas nor Don Crawford were ever told what had happened at the other's launch site and wouldn't compare notes for nearly 30 years. When they did, the mystery only deepened. 2 launch sites, a dozen missiles, and unidentified flying objects.
They had all the contractors involved in these studies, and they couldn't figure out what had happened. The system designers couldn't figure out what had happened. Nobody could figure out what happened. It lends credibility to the fact that something very, very unusual happened.
From the day he filed his official and top secret report, Robert Salas has had nagging questions about what exactly happened on that March day in 1967. 30 years later, Salas still wants answers and has enlisted the help of people like Jim Klotz, who is an expert in the procurement of previously classified military documents. Just recently, they struck pay dirt with this report. It is the Air Force's official and now declassified investigation of the Echo and November incidents.
The strategic missile wing history that we obtained specifically lists what was eliminated, and it concludes that they were mystified. They looked at faults in the computers or the guidance systems of the missiles themselves. They looked into electromagnetic pulse, which is really what they believe was the cause. Now, as far as I know, or the documents show, the capability of introducing such a pulse in the shielded cable system didn't exist at that time.
There's one section in the report that says they interviewed security guards and they denied the UFO incidents. I know, for example, that I briefed my commander on the UFO incidents. The Echo flight crew not only briefed their commander, but had to brief SAC headquarters on the entire incident, and they had logs. And so I know for a fact that those statements in that historical document are false.
Some researchers believe that the shutdown may have been a training exercise to test the mettle of the launch crews. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Rowles says no way.
It's just beyond any comprehension that they would do that because of the detriment to the deterrence factor. You don't degrade your ability to fight a war or a war game exercise.
And, says Rowles, who is an expert in military procedure, the integrity of the security force on duty that day would have been impeccable.
The young Air Force security police at all times, in association with the security of these silos, were given lethal control where they could go ahead and use lethal force if need be. So they had to be very stable themselves.
Robert Salas has also tracked down Ray Fowler. In 1967, he was working for Sylvania, one of the companies that built the Minuteman system.
All I know is that our people and the Boeing people went out to the site and tried to simulate what had happened. But they were never able to trace the reason for the flight going down.
When Robert Salas wrote an article about the Echo incident, former launch commander Don Crawford read it and realized he was not alone. And then Sightings brought them together for the first time in 3 decades.
It's been doing for 30 years.
A long time. I remember you now.
Finally, Crawford and Salas could talk freely on a subject they had once sworn to keep secret. Then Salas shared his research.
You know, that's interesting that you get something from the Air Force that specifically says it happened.
It happened. Absolutely.
Both men agree that the 2 silo incidents must continue to be investigated.
I'm a scientist. I think when you know something, you tell it. You write it down. For a number of years, we couldn't have done that. It was classified. Now that it's not classified, there's no reason not to put it public.
Certainly, if the UFO, whatever it is, has the capability of shutting down our missiles as they did, it's in the public interest to make this an open debate as to what it all means.
Bob Salas's testimony is an important first step, but more people who were in the military, people who were there, need to come forward before the whole truth can be known about what really happened March 16th, 1967.
Next, NASA's plans to study the face on Mars. And later,
This is amazing.
is this historic footage of a crop circle taking shape?
Here are some of the stories Sightings is following in the news. Are you a true believer? How sure are you of the existence of Bigfoot or ghosts or the possibility of extraterrestrial contact in our lifetime? Well, now, before you answer, watch this report about a London betting firm that wants you to put your money where your mouth is.
In London, England, bookmakers like William Hill are willing to give you odds on just about anything.
I suppose it goes back to the early 60s when we first were offered a bet by somebody who wanted to place £10 that man will walk on the moon by the end of that decade. And basically we offered him 1,000 to 1, pushed him out of the office and never thought we'd see him again. Unfortunately, we did in July 1969 when he won £10,000 from us.
But the publicity they received from that bet was priceless, and now William Hill will take bets on everything from the date of alien contact to conclusive proof of Bigfoot, and the odds might surprise you.
There are a number of bets for which we'll offer standard odds, for example. Bigfoot seems to run concurrent with Yeti in our betting odds, and that's currently the same price as Nessie at the moment, 500 to 1, that within a year of your bet, conclusive proof will be forthcoming. We currently offer 33 to 1 that NASA will officially confirm the existence of intelligent extraterrestrial life on or before December the 31st, 1999. We'll give you to the end of the century, and of course that doesn't have to be a little green man.
As sightings of UFOs, Bigfoot, and Nessie fluctuate, so do the odds. However, there is still one paranormal bet yet to be wagered.
The one that surprises me we've never had, and I'm not quite sure why, is for conclusive proof of the existence of ghosts. Nobody has ever, in the 20 years that I've been taking these type of bets, asked for that, and I'm very surprised that they haven't, because I would like the challenge of coming up with a wording for the bet that would enable someone to aim at getting that conclusive proof.
William Hill bookmakers won't say how much money has been wagered on the supernatural so far, only that it is substantial. In Washington, D.C., NASA officials have announced that their Mars probe will photograph the Martian region where many claim to have seen a giant face.
It is our plan to, within our normal sequencing, whenever we go over the Cydonia region, to collect images. And it is also our plan to put those images on the internet upon acquisition. We think we have done all the things that we can possibly do within the framework of this mission to try to address this question of the face on Mars.
The hope is that new detailed pictures will quell rumors that NASA is hiding knowledge of seemingly man-made structures on Mars. By transmitting pictures from the global surveyor directly onto the World Wide Web, NASA hopes to solve the face on Mars mystery once and for all.
We'll have more stories in the news next time. Now, here's what's coming up as Sightings continues.
Does this video solve once and for all the mystery of crop circles?
The crop circles are being made by someone other than Earth people.
Or is it just a fabulous fake?
We have to be extremely careful.
Sightings talks to the experts.
You're about to see some of the most amazing home video that's ever reached us here at Sightings. It was shot by an amateur photographer standing on a bluff above an English wheat field. It may be the first real evidence that crop circles are formed by extraterrestrial forces. Or it may be a hoax. But if it is a hoax, it's a very good one.
Watch carefully. You are about to see the creation of a crop circle.
This is amazing.
If this video is genuine, it is the Holy Grail, because we have something that absolutely proves crop circles are formed without human intervention.
I can see the temptation to want to run with it and believe it simply at face value, but that will do all of us no good whatsoever. So we have to be extremely careful.
World-renowned crop circle experts Colin Andrews and Peter Sorensen were among the first to see the extraordinary video. They were astonished because the amateur home video seems to prove the researchers' hypotheses that there is a connection between crop circles and the so-called mystery lights, often sighted in the same area.
The cameraman is pointing his camera towards a wheat field. Into the right-hand side of the frame suddenly appears two small spheres, moving from right to left. The spheres then take a course, a semi-ring around the field. Suddenly in the center of the field, the central circle is formed, and 6 circles on the ends of the arms are also in position. The third phase comes when 2 more spheres appear from the east, and then the connecting pathways, the arms, drop into position.
I must say, at the very beginning, I thought, wow, this feels right. You know, this guy seems genuine about everything. And it wasn't until I began to watch it frame by frame that I began to be suspicious of things.
Sorensen is particularly suspicious because the man holding the camera seems to know what will happen before it does.
A very important thing to look for on this video is that during this key shot, the camera seems to be wiggling a little bit like it's a handheld camera. if it is a handheld camera, how come he didn't follow the lights when they go off screen? Instead, he's already exactly where the crop circle is going to be.
Could someone have created this videotape using computer graphics and other special effects? Jim Pilatoso is an animation expert who has analyzed the video.
There's no evidence that this is a hoax. I'm not saying that it's real. I'm saying that there's no evidence of a hoax.
The people I've worked with in computer animation studios could do this kind of thing in about 4 hours.
People are fooled by what complex and simple computers can do. This is like that. We're trying to determine, like in Forrest Gump, if Forrest Gump was really shaking hands with John Kennedy. It's not enough to say, oh, yes, it's a fake. Well, how was it faked?
Unlike other analysts, Pilatoso claims to have no personal bias in this case.
When we test video, the temptation is to go into it with the presupposition it's real and I'm going to find a way to prove it. Or the temptation is to say it's a hoax and I'm going to prove how it's a hoax. What we have to do is enter into the testing to gather data, and then we can draw a conclusion.
What is certain, of course, is that the formation, the pattern we see forming on this video did appear. I mean, it is physical. It was there in the field. We've seen it, measured it at ground level. We've filmed it from the air. It is real. That is undoubtedly true. But the team working with me that entered that field, they didn't like what they saw. They saw many footprints. They saw compression of the soil. They saw plants that were heavily damaged and a spiraling symmetry, which was highly suspicious.
If the tape is a hoax, Pilatoso says, it was not created with computer tricks.
Every camera, whether home or professional, every tape deck has areas in between the frames, just like in a strip of movie film. There's space in between the frames. In video, there's information in that space, and that information is called the vertical interval. There is no evidence in the vertical interval of digital processing, meaning no paint box, no computer, no tampering with the signal.
And there is no evidence that the photographer has made substantial financial or personal gains, bolstering his legitimacy.
What we hear is the person we assume to be the camera operator says, "This is amazing.
This is amazing."
But when we analyze the voice using psychological stress evaluation, this person's a little bit nervous.
This is amazing.
And the nature of the breathing changes rapidly, as if the body was introduced to a moment of stress. Point of the story. Doesn't seem like this guy is lying or acting.
Sorensen is not as charitable.
Suddenly we click to this fairly tight, limited motion shot, and now he's saying, this is amazing. Now, frankly, if it was me, I'd be using four-letter words to say, wow, this is fantastic. You know, that's what I would have been saying. But he says, oh, this is amazing. I mean, that's too British.
But what has the photographer to gain? He hasn't made a bundle or become a media sensation. Why create such a hoax?
This is an important tape, because what you see on the tape represents either a hoax or it represents a truly significant clue, a key, a demonstration into what this means. There's tremendous evidence that the crop circles are very meaningful, very significant, and are being made by someone other than Earth people.
I guess I want to believe it's real, but we must still with the facts. We don't want to see a myth in the making, and that is what this might turn out to be.
The problem with the crop circle video is the same problem researchers are having with the Roswell autopsy film. The photographers refuse to come forward publicly. This is perhaps the strongest case for the video and the film being hoaxes. If you shot historic, legitimate footage, Wouldn't you want people to know who you are?
Next, the extraordinary healing power of music.
He could not speak. He could not read. He could not write. We were starting from ground zero.
When a team of researchers found the perfectly preserved body of a Stone Age man, the world-famous Iceman, they also found the tools of his meager existence. He was carrying a hunting knife and a flute. Music, it seems, was as essential as food. The mysterious power of music continues to sustain us to this day, and there is new proof that it can also heal.
With its drums and chants, this may sound like the latest trendy New Age workshop. But in fact, this is clinical research being conducted at the University of Louisville School of Medicine.
In every culture that I have ever heard about, music was a part of healing ceremonies, of healing rituals, and of ceremonies that celebrated life passages.
Dr. Cash is a musicologist and one of the nation's few music-centered psychotherapists. She studies and documents the physical and psychological effects of music. Dr. Cash calls music her drug of choice and speculates that music stimulates the release of powerful therapeutic chemicals inside the human body that can promote healing.
Music can begin to relax the body to the point where natural healing processes can begin to take place. But when people get so stressed out, a lot of these healing processes are cut off. You can learn to use your own voice to heal yourself.
Dr. Cash has seen the healing effects of music in her patients with stress, depression, anxiety, addictions, and even stroke patients and those with Alzheimer's disease. Music, it seems, can also mean the difference for many people with language and learning disabilities. At the Sound Listening and Learning Center in Pasadena, California, therapists use a method based on the work of French physician Alfred Tomatis to stimulate language development.
The basic premise of our work is that the voice can only produce what the ear can hear.
Center Director Dr. Billy Thompson works with many children who are language impaired. Even though Katie Brady started talking clearly and intelligently when she was only 9 months old, by age 2, Katie had regressed severely.
Oh.
Her parents tried to encourage Katie to speak intelligibly, reading and speaking until they were hoarse, but Katie could not imitate normal speech.
With what? In the bath. In the bathtub.
The grandparents actually said it first. Do you think she's hearing? Do you think she's hearing us?
You see the ABC song?
Testing showed that Katie wasn't deaf. And when she stopped talking completely after the death of her grandmother, therapists suggested Katie's problems were psychological.
As we were rocking her to sleep that night, she said, "Grandmother is dead, grandmother is dead." We put her to bed, and then the next morning she did not have any language.
Katie had uncontrollable tantrums. She chewed on books, threw things, and grew more and more isolated.
Katie was never invited to a birthday party, and she would be kicking the wall, tearing at her clothes, screaming at the top of her lungs. We call that year the dark year, the black year.
The Bradys were told Katie had attention deficit disorder. 2 doctors insisted she was autistic, but Katie's parents saw signs that she could speak clearly. Her mother noticed it first when Katie began imitating the high-pitched voice of cartoon characters.
She would memorize things from the television. In particular, one of her first phrases was from the movie Bambi, and she would say, "You can call me Flower if you want to. I don't mind."
Katie improved enough during 2 years of speech therapy to enter kindergarten, but her parents kept looking for help. When they discovered the Tomatis Center, extensive testing pinpointed sounds that Katie's brain was not processing. She was missing the mid-range tones, the ones we use in normal conversation.
When we get the sound through the equipment, we're hearing it differently than you and I would hear it in a normal symphony or radio show. It's being processed in order to make the ear more effective.
A sophisticated electronic ear manipulated music like Mozart and Gregorian chants to target sounds Katie was missing.
One day after session, Katie said, "I think I have a new brain." And she was really experiencing a different way of perceiving her world.
Like when I was like a baby, I didn't even know how to talk.
When Katie learned to hear the mid-range tones, she began to process normal speech.
You get those ear muffs and you listen to some music, and then when you're done, you listen to some other things. Like this lady says, repeat my words. Flower, flower. If they don't hear a voice, they just try again and try again and try again until they got your voice.
She was taking a shower and she was singing. And she was singing up and down and I love my voice in this voice that my husband and I had never heard. And my husband and I are outside the door crying and crying because you hear this wonderful, wonderful voice coming from someone that had no voice.
Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
In October 1995, Diana Pierce received an unexpected and devastating phone call. Her husband, John, an Arizona air traffic controller, had suffered a catastrophic stroke. They had only been married 3 years.
Oh, he was the man of my dreams. All my life I've been looking for him. I was very much in love. If you can believe that you can really fall in love for the first time in your life, at 47, it happened to me.
The prognosis was bleak. John would survive, but he would suffer severe, lifelong disabilities.
When I took him into rehab, we found that John had lost all of his learning centers. He could not speak, he could not read, he could not write, he could not spell, he could not do math. We were starting from ground zero, as if he was going back into kindergarten.
Before his stroke, John was talkative, social, and articulate. But after the stroke, all that was gone.
4 months later, I called my mother and I said, I want my husband back. I want him to talk to me again. And Mom said, nobody can do that but you. You have to help him.
I told her, okay, tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. And she did it.
Diana structured her own exhausting treatment regimen. And when she discovered a Tomata Center in Phoenix, John became the first stroke patient to work with Dr. Thompson.
When John first came to the center, he was not able to say what he was thinking.
In this method, music is used to stimulate and speed up brain functions that lead to speech. From music, John moved on to simple speech, and then to the rich language of life before his stroke.
Success. Success. Success.
Success.
Good.
I don't learn that one day. It may take 2 or 3 days. And then all of a sudden, bam, I get something. Very idea.
Every day I would get up and I would come and I would sit on the couch and I would say to myself, if only he could come out and say to me, good morning, babe. He does now.
The power of music is mysterious, a primal force for all humankind. And now modern science applied to the old ways is helping to heal for those who are willing to listen.
The people in this story are living proof that there's a mysterious link between speech, memory, and music. Researchers say this is just the beginning. One day they envision a whole new range of music therapies for many kinds of brain disorders.
Next, the alarming details of Nostradamus' final prediction.
Nostradamus is saying that something will come from the sky.
As previously reported on Sightings, many of the 16th century predictions of Michel Nostradamus are coming true in the 20th century. The prophet had a penchant for predicting wars, plagues, and disasters, so it's not surprising that one of his predictions for the year 2000 has a lot of people running scared.
Long
1999, in the year 1999, the 7th month, from the sky will come a great king of terror. So it is said, and so it will be.
This prediction was made more than 400 years ago in a simple 4-line poem called a quatrain. Nostradamus wrote 1,000 quatrains during his lifetime, but only 8 make predictions for specific dates. 7 dates have passed so far, and 7 predictions have come true. Now, only quatrain 72, the prediction for 1999, remains.
Nostradamus is saying that something will come from the sky. Not in the sky like an airplane, it's coming from out of the sky. It has to come from space. And the only thing that could possibly come from space, okay, that could produce terror would be something that's going to hit the Earth. We're talking about a comet, an asteroid, a meteor, something along those lines.
Author Stephen Paulus believes that quatrain 72 foretells a grim fate for Earth as it enters the next millennium. He has detailed his alarming scenario in the book Nostradamus 1999, Who Will Survive?
Nostradamus indicates that a comet will make a close approach to the Earth. The Earth will pass through the tail of the comet. A meteor a quarter mile in diameter will actually hit the Earth. What would happen? You have the energy equivalent of 133,000 Hiroshima-sized bombs going off instantaneously in the same place. You will end up with an earthquake of a magnitude 14 or greater. You'll end up with a tsunami, a tidal wave, perhaps 100, 200 feet in height. The destruction is just going to be enormous.
According to Paulus, quatrain 72 is only one in a sequence of 200 quatrains that tell the story of Earth's demise. But how and when it will happen has been obscured.
Nostradamus indicates that there was an original sequential order, which he confused. He mixed up his quatrains. He did not number them. He wrote them on individual sheets of paper and just took them and just threw them up around the room and numbered them in the order that he picked them up in. So it was truly a random ordering system. I've made an attempt to take a group of about 200 quatrains and resequence them, perhaps into the order he wrote them in.
In one quatrain, Nostradamus predicts that a solar eclipse will hide the comet's approach. And Paulus says it is not a coincidence that astronomers calculate a solar eclipse for August 11th, 1999. If the comet does hit, will it mean the end of the world? Since the Earth is 75% water, an ocean impact is likely, and UCLA meteorologist Dr. James Murakami says that's good.
The first immediate effect would be, say, a giant tidal wave affecting coastal areas. If it occurs in the Atlantic, it'd be affecting like North America, Europe, Africa, South America. But these would be fairly transitory and it'd probably occur in the first 24 hours of impact.
The noted science writer David Brin reminds us that Nostradamus' predictions are subject to much interpretation.
They are art. They are a creation of metaphors that cause and stimulate thinking. They're not, I don't think they were ever meant to be literal predictions.
Brin may be skeptical about Nostradamus' vision of a catastrophic millennium, but he does acknowledge that life in the Milky Way is not risk-free.
The kind of asteroid that killed off the dinosaurs, well, we know roughly the odds of that because it happened 65 million years ago and hasn't happened since. So the odds, I would say, are roughly 1 in 100 million in any given year.
Still, Paulus is convinced that the collision of man and mineral is inevitable.
NASA provided some statistics that said it is more likely that you will die in a comet crash into the Earth than you will die in an airplane. But nobody's worried about comets. But when they do happen, millions, perhaps billions of people will die.
Nostradamus may have predicted a devastating comet impacting the Earth, but he did not predict our ability to divert an inbound celestial body using Star Wars technology. And that's something that is on the drawing boards right now.
If you've had a paranormal experience, please write to us at Sightings. Sightings can also be contacted at America Online at keyword sightings. Download images, sounds, and QuickTime clips from Sightings episodes. On the internet, access information about sightings and the paranormal at sci-fi.com/sightings.
Until next time, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Next on Sci-Fi, Dark Shadows. Fact.
Invasion is a hoax.
Or science fiction.
There really are aliens on the moon?
China in the sci-fi premiere of Alien Fury. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. on Sci-Fi.